I want to spin it in a positive way for you guys. Let's just say, worst case scenario. Obviously, this would never happen in a million years. Worst case, what he signed a 15-year contract, 15 years. If somehow, some way, the Mets win 15 straight World Series with Juan Soto under contract,
Okay.
the Yankees will still have 27. To the Mets would then be 17 World Series titles. So 27 is 10 greater than 17, so don't feel bad. Everything will be okay.
Greg, what do you think about that? You feel good about that?
No, I don't.
Very good perspective.
Sports and culture all in one. Catch the fire, feel the fun. Andrew Sistad, Brad unite. Philly NY in the spotlight.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 18. We have a lot of stuff to get to. Juan Soto has ditched the Yankees for little brother, the New York Mets. Little brother no longer. We're going to talk a lot about that. Most of the episode will be about Soto. We have our third time returning guest, Greg DeSalvo. By the way, Greg, I'm going as a gift for being such a loyal guest. You're going to get one of these mugs.
I'm honored. I drink a lot of coffee, so that'll definitely come in handy. Appreciate that.
That's good. We're also going to talk about a little bit about football. Sistad will share a little bit of his Eagles concerns because, of course, he's concerned. They played a close game. And then he has a funny story about watching the game. I also have a story about watching the Jets game. I'm going to pose a question, questioning my fandom and the idea of being a diehard sports fan. We'll get into that. And then, of course, we'll wrap with the Let's Mock New York fans on Twitter. There's a lot of good ones now. And we have a subscriber question to get to as well at the end. So let's start right off. Juan Soto to the Mets, 15 years, $765 million. That's $51 million a year. With an opt-out after 5 years, he'll be 31. That the Mets could void the opt-out by increasing the salary to 54.
I think it's 55. Essentially, they would sign him to a 10-year, $550 million deal at that point if he opts out.
Yeah, so who knows what will happen at that point.
Yeah.
But really, the first ever big Yankee to leave for the Mets. We've had a lot of Yankees leave for the Mets, but nothing like this. Not only that, but just a big free agent that the Yankees are going out to lose him to the Mets first. This is for the big brother Yankee fans. Sistad, we talked about it last episode, how I said, like, this is going to be something if he goes to the Mets. I think we're going to get into... Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, you're certainly right. It's funny. Somebody commented on one of the shorts, basically, like, making fun of me, because I didn't really understand. Yeah. Like, I don't get the Mets-Yankees thing. Like, I'm sorry, I don't.
Yeah, dude,
it was insane. Dude, he was getting mad at me because I don't...
Bro can understand a rivalry.
And to me, I'm like, I don't know. I don't have a city in which there's another team that's taken some of the spotlight away from mine, but, like, I don't know. They're in two separate leagues. They play each other, up until the more interleague play got integrated in the past few years.
It's very specific to New York. LA has it too.
I was going to say, do Dodgers fans hate the Angels fans? Like, probably not, right?
It's more with the Lakers and the Clippers in LA. That's like the bigger,
they play the same stadium, the same arena.
Yeah.
Well,
Angels aren't even in LA, so it's different. They're called LA, but they play in Anaheim.
Yeah.
So it's not even... Losing Soto makes the Yankees worse. Losing Soto to the Mets makes the Mets better. But it's, for Yankee fans, I think it's more of a shot at their, like, ego. Like, where are the Yankees? And the Mets are the Mets are like, aha, the Mets, the whole LOL Mets, like that's always been the thing. And even since Cohen bought the Mets, he's put a lot of money, but they still, they made the NLCS. They still haven't been good. They haven't been that consistent winner that he strives or has said that he wants to be. He wants to be like the Dodgers. They haven't been. So it's been Verlander signing. They've made all these moves, and it's more just like, haha, the Mets. But now Yankee fans are really, and we're gonna, since I'm sure you're seeing it on Twitter. Like this is like Yankee fans are distraught, and because of the same city, you have the sports talk radio. You have hosts who like both teams, and it's created this. I find it very entertaining, back and forth.
Like
Greg,
you said, it's the first time that we've seen it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and this is kind of the biggest stage, if you will, with Juan Soto, who's the second best free agent that's hit baseball in however long. So it's one of the top players in baseball, and it's one where, from all the reports, at the end, it came down to a 1v1 head-to-head battle between the Yankees and the Mets, and it's the first time that we've seen the Yankees lose one of those. So it's shocking to a lot of fans. I can understand that. Like you said, AJ, I think it's an ego thing. And yeah, it is a, I don't want to say changing of the guard, but like I said, it's no longer just like the Mets are there and haha Mets. They can, I expected this when Cohen bought the team, and when you listen to everything that he said and all the stories about him, that he was going to throw his money around, but then to actually see it to the scale that it was, it's a landmark moment in New York baseball, I would say.
I think it just further proves this idea that Steve Cohen can really financially do whatever he really wants.
Yeah.
And all the CBA parameters are in place to stop him, and he doesn't care, and he won't care. And we're going to get into that. But I want to get your take on like the emotional reaction, because I'm like, when it first happened, when I first saw the news,
I know you were very emotional, Andrew, so it's okay. You've had a day to think it over, and you can collect your thoughts.
Exactly. I saw it, I'm disappointed, like, oh. And then within like an hour, I'm not upset. I woke up the next morning, like this morning, and I wasn't upset at all. I think there's a couple things here, and some fans, what they do is when they're actually upset is they create all these reasons, right, to not be upset. All the things that that's just kind of how they protect themselves, right? Like, oh, he's a bad defensive player. He's a bad base runner. Oh, the contract's terrible. A lot of those stuff I've been saying, and that's really not what I'm doing. I'm actually not upset. And I did have 4 things that I wanted to run by Greg specifically here, because I think there's 4 parts of this that are true.
Before you do that, what I will say is I think I agree with everything that you said. I was definitely disappointed last night when I saw the news. You said
you texted me.
I woke up this morning. I did say that. I did say that. I was a little emotional late last night when it first happened.
But that's normal. That's normal to be emotional about it.
Still wasn't happy about it, but not as bad. But again, I think it's more a referendum on the Yankees as an organization, which we've talked about on this podcast before. I think my thoughts have been pretty clear of what I think about the organization from the top down. And then now I'm much more level-headed. Again, in the short term, I think it's tough to kind of envision making up for that loss. But we can get into all the details. Obviously, it's a ridiculous contract, whether it was on the Yankees or the Mets or anybody else. So, I don't want to say a blessing in disguise, because that is like too flippant. But 7, 8, 9 years, however many years it takes, like that's just it's gonna be ridiculous when the guy can't move anymore and he's a full-time DH getting paid $55 million a year.
I agree. And that's that was gonna be my first part. My first
and again,
point.
I would love to have that problem on the Yankees 10 years from now. Don't get me wrong. So it's but 2 things can be true at the same time.
Exactly. So based on the current CBA, the current luxury tax tiers, the current contract value around MLB, it's a terrible contract.
Mm-hmm.
Objectively, a terrible contract. He's not worth $51 million based on the context of Major League Baseball. The Yankees also, what's also true is the Yankees are a lot worse. And people
Yes.
that want to act like they're not and they could just spread the money around, it's not like you, just because they were willing to pay him $46 million a year doesn't mean they're just going to spend $46 million a year on 3 guys. That's not how it works.
No.
So they're a lot worse off. The Mets are a lot better off.
Mm-hmm.
The Mets are the only team that can overpay to this extent for this long of a term, and they have an owner that could say, "It's okay. I'll still spend. I'll keep going."
And
They're
also,
the only team
because of the nature of a lot of their, like, they don't have any real like albatross contracts on their books. You can look at the Nimmo deal, which isn't great, but it's not horrific. Like, they don't have a bunch of other money on long-term deals that they're stuck with like the Yankees do. So they, even in the short term, not just because of, Cohen's wallet, but just because of payroll flexibility with the contracts that they have, like, they still have a ton of room where they can add a bunch of salary in the short term, and it's not going to make their payroll completely ridiculous because they got Soto penciled in at 51.
The only long-term contract they have, I think, is Lindor.
It's Lindor
right?
and Nimmo. Like, McNeil's,
But
I think,
Nimmo's
on their
not
last
even
year.
like Nimmo's not. It was like $20 million.
Yeah. I think it's in the low 20s. Yeah. So that's what I mean. It's really just Lindor. They have the Edwin Diaz deal. It's got a couple more years. That's a shorter term
3
deal.
more
It's
years.
probably like
It's
18, I think, something like that.
Yeah, that's nothing. That's nothing.
So they don't have a ton. They don't have a bunch of Carlos Rodons and DJ LeMahieu contracts holding
Garrett
down
Cole, obviously
Judge.
Judge. I mean, and then the Yankees have a lot of them.
Marcus Stroman.
The fourth thing I want. Stroman's not long term, but okay.
I mean, it's not long term, but you're paying somebody $18 million to not be on your playoff roster. It's just Brian Cashman at his best.
Yeah, I don't look at it that way. But anyway, the last thing I want to say is the Yankees are still going to put together a great roster without him. And you know why I say that? Because of Brian Cashman.
Oh, here we go.
You hater.
Amen. Yeah.
They have shown year after year after year to put out very strong rosters every year. Yeah, I know they had, like the 22 or 23 debacle, but that's been an outlier. I mean, they put together really good rosters. You agree with that, right?
No, I wouldn't agree with that.
Oh, come on, dude. Is he trolling? Are you trolling?
No,
I don't think. Don't
you wish he was just like a Nationals or a Marlins fan or like an Orioles fan for like a year?
I don't think you can look at
Pittsburgh
their rosters
Pirates,
over the last however long and say they've been really good rosters. I think that's a stretch.
Okay.
But we don't need to argue over the semantics of it. We can look forward.
So your reaction to the trade, Greg, is essentially you were very angry at first. Now you weren't angry at Hal. You were angry at Cashman and Soto, right?
I won't say I'm angry at Cashman. I don't like Brian Cashman. I don't think he is all that good at his job. Again, people can think I'm crazy. I know Andrew does.
But there's nothing to do with losing out on Soto. Or you think it does?
Indirectly, it does, but no, not specifically.
Can you explain indirectly?
Is it because of the trade and not re-signing him?
No, you have to make that trade. You gave up Michael King. Okay, he was a big piece in that.
Too.
But I sent this to my friend and then I shared it with Andrew this morning. I'll sum it up that basically, because I don't think Brian Cashman is all that good, because I think the Yankees have underachieved for 10 plus years, 14 plus years, whatever it is now, the brand, being a Yankee, is not as strong as it once was. And I think that comes from the organization accepting mediocrity for a prolonged period of time. That I think their brand is damaged to the point where,
dude,
somebody
you want to say
deal.
All right, but be accurate. You want to say that accepting not being number one or accepting being really, really good and perennial contenders and not actually doing everything they can to win a championship every year. Fine.
I don't want to
but not mediocrity.
I get what you're saying. I don't want to rehash
mediocrity.
Past, I don't want to rehash past episodes because we talked about this. I don't remember if it was the right when the season ended or if it was the kind of off-season preview.
This is exactly what Sistad hates about Yankee fans, that they win 90s plus games every year and they act like they're being mediocre.
Which is great. Obviously, it's great, being a Nats fan, like you said, Pirates fan, whatever. But, like, when you look at the disparity
the Nats won a World Series in 2019.
You're absolutely right. So give me that. When you look at the disparity in resources in baseball, and it's never been more evident than right now with the Soto contract, like, I don't look at being, above 500 and perennially making the playoffs as a significant achievement by the Yankee standards.
Can I ask you a question?
They're starting on second base, essentially, compared to
Let me ask you something.
10 of the 30 teams in baseball.
I think we both understand that point. Let me ask you, though. The Mets got Soto. They're obviously going to do more. If the Mets are bad this year, will you admit that, hey, the Yankees are doing something right when they spent a lot of money? Because look at the Mets. They just spent all this money on Soto. They just spent all this money, and they're not good. Let's just say they're not good. Is there a certain lack of performance from them, 85 wins, 86 wins, whatever it is, that you'd say, I got to give credit to the Yankees, actually? Or is that not in the cards?
I get what you're saying. I think it's fair.
I'm asking you a question.
No, I get, like I'm saying, I think it's, I don't know if it's a yes or no answer, really.
No, it's a number.
No, you said, is there a level of performance?
Yeah, so give not making the playoffs, winning less than 90 games. Like I guess I did say is there. So the answer is no, you're saying. No.
Probably not. Obviously, spending money doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win games. We've seen plenty of teams throw money around and stink. The Angels being,
but it doesn't give you an advantage. Obviously, it does.
Exactly. So,
but the fact that they're good just about every year.
Yes, they're good just about every year. And again, they're starting immediately ahead of a third of the league
financially.
Yeah.
But going into every offseason, they're not, though, right? Because going to right now, are they starting ahead of everyone financially? Do they have more flexibility than?
Yes, they are, because they can even have a conversation with Corbin Burns or with Juan Soto or with some of these teams with some of these players that certain teams, they can't even put them on their list of potential targets. Okay.
So what are your feelings towards Soto? What were they when the news broke last night, and then you had found out the Yankees offer was relatively close? What are your feelings? What were your feelings towards Soto then, and what are your feelings towards Soto now?
That's what I texted you last night. Right. I feel the same way.
Oh man.
Oh God.
I mean, that's what it is. Thanks for a great memory in the Guardian series, and
but you don't blame him for you're not like actually mad at him for like deciding where to play where he wants to play, are you? Or you just mean that jokingly, right?
I mean, half jokingly. It's like, no, it's you're a professional athlete. You have a limited amount of time to make your money. Go make your money. Pick obviously where you want to be. As a Yankee fan, like for I'll say the difference of $5 million. It's not because of how you break it down and everything, but yeah, just it's on to the next.
Yeah, I just can't get there. I think most Yankee fans, that's kind of their take, but I just can't get there. Like I
don't want to see him do well. Like I'm gonna be actively rooting against him, not for injury necessarily, but like.
Would you draft him in fantasy?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Then you'll root for him, though.
No, see, because there wouldn't be a rooting interest in that. It would just
you'd be rooting for him to do well for your fantasy team.
No, but I would be drafting for inevitability. Because, the numbers he's going to put up.
Because he's going to do well. But if you're watching a game and it's Sunday, last day of the weekly matchup, and you need a home run, to win the home run category, you're not rooting for him. You're not going to be excited if he hits a home run. Come on, dude. Come on.
Well, how late in the season is this? Or am I trying to make a playoff push in the fantasy?
Week one.
Week one? No, I'll punt it to next.
Dude, no chance. There's no. I don't believe that, and I don't believe that. I don't know. But anyway, you're a diehard loyal fan if you put the team, a former player, over your fantasy team just because you don't like him because he left the team.
No, I would draft him in fantasy.
Okay.
Fantasy team name for this year is Juan Soto.
You should do that.
You should.
Right.
Absolutely.
But then I have to draft him. You know, he has to fall to me in the draft.
A Met fan's taking him early. All right. There's something that I want to run by both you guys. So I was talking to a colleague this morning about it, and I was talking to a friend later in the day, and they kind of said in essentially the same thing. They're both Mets fans. They said, "Oh, we're happy we got him, but I hate the idea that players can make this much money." My coworker, he brought up a story. He turned it into a story about him trying to buy Knicks tickets for his son for Christmas, and it's going to cost me $500 a ticket. I hate how players make this much money. I didn't know what to say to him because the fact that he wants the ticket is why players make money. Like if he didn't want to go and people didn't want to go, there wouldn't be the value in this.
His argument is that one of the reasons that ticket prices are so high is
because the player's salary
paid $50 million a year, then that $500 ticket maybe is $200. Like that's the thought process. It doesn't make.
You don't agree with it though, right?
No.
Well, good job, being objective and giving us that context, but it's pretty silly. I mean, these are Mets fans. They watch almost every game.
Yeah.
How could you care so much about something and be like, well, why are people getting paid? Oh, it's because you and other people care so much about this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why the business is doing so well, because people care.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want? The owner to keep the money? You want you want Steve Cohen and his $31 billion for whatever he's worth to just hoard the money? Like, I don't get that. Let the insider, let the hedge fund insider trader keep the money. Yeah, sister, what do you think about this?
I don't care at all. Man, I'm trying to think of something that would bother me less than that, and I can't think of anything. I don't care. These people are supremely talented. They're the best in the world at what they do, and someone's willing to pay them that kind of money. More power to you, man. I mean, I think it's totally absurd to be disappointed that someone made a lot of money.
And something else that I actually heard also. So I was listening to WFAN a little bit. After someone like this, I listen to sports talk radio because I love to hear people I just love to see the reaction. And I also thought it'd be good for the podcast to listen to. But so just to hear how angry Yankee fans are, how jealous Yankee fans are, insecure they are about it, and just how ridiculously happy Mets fans are. They don't we've seen so many players sign, so many teams have great off seasons, and then once the season starts, things don't work out. Watch the New York Jets, and we've seen this so many times. I have to throw it into everything because I hate them. But the point is, I've seen this happen so many times. I can't react positively or negatively on one transaction.
Well, I think from the Mets fan perspective, I understand fully their rabid excitement.
It's not about the player,
exactly.
Right?
It's exactly. Yeah. It's the circumstances around it. So that makes more sense. And then I can understand a Yankee fan. Because I feel like for me personally, I'm not quite all the way over the edge of complete irrational lunatic. But I'm more on that side of the fence than maybe you are, Andrew. So
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
That's not saying much.
We would tell you to get off the pot if that was...
Okay, there you go. So again, because of what it signifies, I can, they're going to be the lunatic Yankee fans. Oh, it doesn't matter. Just pay him whatever. So you should have given him $800 million. You should have given him 60. We're the Yankees. No one can outspend us. So it's
that's right. Yeah,
that is completely off the fucking deep end. But I think it's more about the circumstances around the player and the signing than it is really just for Juan Soto from both sides.
Yeah, I agree with that. So listen to this, guys. So I'm listening to WFAN, and I forgot who it was, but they're talking about someone calls in, and I think it's Tiki Barber and Evan Roberts, and someone calls in and saying it's a terrible contract. Clearly, a Yankees fan, like just like being insecure about it all, right? And they like Tiki Barber and Evan Roberts are saying how like, why do you care? It's not your money. Okay. So that argument that people make to other fans, like you shouldn't care, it's not your money. It's not about that. They're not upset about they're not upset that that Steve Cohen has to pay, or an owner has to pay the player. They're really into the team, and they understand how every signing and every contract restricts and limits you going forward in roster building. Now, I'd say with the Mets that they might be the exception to that. I've heard that a lot. I've seen that a lot on Twitter where
that's to be determined, like, to what extent. Because it's one thing to give out a massive contract like this. It's another thing to operate at a loss of tens or hundreds of millions of dollars every single year. Like,
but what do you guys think about the concept of like a fan telling you, "Don't worry, it's not your money," as if like you're worried about like their financial security of the owner.
They don't understand. It's like in sales, you don't actually understand the real objection. Like you're not actually getting to the root of the issue with that answer.
Sandler, look at him, Sandler right here.
Yeah, I actually understand the it's not your money argument a little bit. I mean, if your owner has deep enough pockets and there's not a hard cap, it's different if there's a hard cap in the sport. Obviously, for clear reasons, right? You cannot spend over X amount of dollars. Here, you can. If your owner is willing to, to shovel out the money, his pockets are deep enough, then let him go get it. I wish the fucking Phillies owner would do that.
No, but you can, but it has an effect over time. Even if the owners like say Steve Cohen every year, I'll be over the highest luxury tax tier every time. I don't care. I'll pay the bill, keep paying the bill, whatever. You're losing international slot money. You're losing draft picks. That stuff will catch up to you eventually. If you want to be a perennial winner, you're going to have, in order to keep winning, you're going to have to keep overpaying and overspending. You're going to have a bunch of 40-year-old DHs making $50 million a year. Like, you can't keep doing that. It's going to catch up with you. The CBA is set up so teams can't do that. Even if you have one ridiculously wealthy owner and crazy owner who doesn't care about the money aspect, eventually it's going to catch up to you.
Sure, yeah, but
the money aspect
about 15 years from now.
And the money aspect is the most punitive. Like, losing 10 spots in the major league draft and like losing a little bit of an already limited international bonus pool money, like that's the penalties are designed where the most punitive part of it is the fine or the tax on top of every dollar above the threshold. So yes. if that's not going to dissuade somebody at all, I don't think that
but even
minor
that,
penalties
to an extent,
are
there
going
has
to
to be an extent
somebody.
where Cohen would be like, okay, that's enough. If he's paying like, I don't know, like $300 million just tax money, there has to be a point where it just becomes so ridiculous that they're just losing so much money as an organization. They're not close to that. I think this is actually going to make them money. I think this is going to make jersey sales, ratings, marketing, tickets. Like, this is going to elevate the franchise.
Yes. And again, you say that though, it's like Steve Cohen, like the amount of money that he has is so astronomical that he could run this business losing a couple $100 million a year for a decade. And
I know.
Okay, that's the interest he makes on whatever portfolio he has. So it's like, it's so irrelevant to him that we say there has to be a limit, and I'm sure there is a limit of some sort, but like, he only knows what that limit is, if it even exists. And if they don't win, I think it increases that limit because, at his core, he's a Met fan from like since he was a kid. So like, if you had the chance to, I need to win a World Series. I need to win a World Series for my childhood team. It's like, what else am I going to do with all this money? So he could spend a decade of just losing hundreds of millions of dollars a year, and it doesn't make the slightest bit of impact on him. So if they don't win in the short term, we could be headed there. And then CBA is going to be interesting whenever that gets renegotiated, because I'm sure all the other owners are going to hate every second.
29, I think, 2028. It's going to be something.
Yeah.
Because, the other owners are going to be furious, but they also accepted that they all agreed to let him in.
Yeah.
They had a vote.
Yeah.
All right.
You can't start turning away ultra wealthy individuals from your sport. Like, baseball does enough things to try to kill itself. They don't need to be doing that. They really.
I agree with that completely. I don't. I think it's objectively good for baseball.
I don't know about that. It's objectively good for the players.
It's not like he went to the Dodgers. That would have been.
Oh, you just mean like Soto going to the Mets? I thought you meant like
that's
Steve
good.
Cohen's wealth is
No. Soto going to the. So I'm talking about Soto. Soto going to the Mets is objectively good for baseball. You got a big market team that is not an elite. Does not have an elite roster at all. That needed a really amazing player or a second amazing player. They have one star in Lindor. I think it's objectively good for baseball. He didn't go to the Dodgers. He went to a big market team. They're not some superstar stacked team. And they're in a division that's really competitive. I do want to get to a team in that division in a little bit.
Don't bother.
I think it's objectively good for baseball and good for the players, obviously. It sets the next young superstar. That sets the mark, the benchmark. And even the next 30-plus superstar that gets into free agency, the 51 mil is the AAV benchmark.
I'm shocked. So, like, yesterday, I guess it was yesterday, during the day, I started seeing reports that, like, the number was, I think I saw something that was like 720, 730 or so. I started seeing numbers floating around there kind of more concretely than in the previous couple weeks. So when I saw that number up in the sevens, I was like, oh, so there is deferred money. Because I was like, I wonder if there's going to be deferred money.
It's crazy.
It's
crazy.
Because to go from Ohtani at 470 or whatever like the real present day value of that contract
current day. I think it's like 460, 470.
Yeah. So like to go from that to 765 and to go from 46 or 47, whatever Ohtani's is,
for a significantly lesser player, not even close.
So really, like, you're going, the best comp obviously would be Aaron Judge. To go from 40 to 51, like one contract to the next on an per year basis, it's such a wild jump. I don't even know if that really like sets a benchmark for anybody. I think that's just such an outlier.
It might be a one-off. You're right. Yeah. You're right. I think you're right. I think it's a combination of situations. You got a player and an agent that wanted the most money, that pushed. You had all the big markets involved. You had the Yankees, Mets back and forth.
You had a guy who's 26,
Soto's age, exactly.
You don't see his accomplishments already. Like it was a perfect storm, but still, just to see the jump from kind of the one contract to the next. Like I said, I thought when the 700 numbers were coming, I was like, oh, so like, okay, he's taking deferred money. Like, we'll see where that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Nope.
It's a bad baseball contract. I mean, this is it's bad. He's going to be making $51 million a year, and he's probably going to be 36 years old and out half the year. And when he's playing, he's a DH.
Well, at that point, making 55 potentially. But yeah, no, objectively, it's an insane contract.
I hope he opts out in 5 years and we see that go down. That'd be something. Who knows the value of contracts may be higher then.
That's kind of my thought. I mean, I remember just, to loop this into the Phillies, like I remember when Harper signed his deal. Yeah, and everyone was like, this is insane. We've never seen anything like this. And then 4 years later, 5 years later, like it's double. It's more than double. So, yeah, I think it's nuts. I think that's just kind of it's the cost of doing business. When you have a superstar, you're paying.
Yeah, but not
you're
this
overpaying, level. Right? But everything is on a scale. So you're overpaying for the first 7-8 years of the deal, and then you pretty much just have to eat whatever the remaining, in this case, 7-8 years. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
You have to be okay. You make that deal as a team, accepting that the back end's going to be an issue.
Yes,
I agree with that. But in this case, what you're doing is you're overpaying on the front end, significantly overpaying on the front end. Now again, the Mets are fine. We know that the Mets are really the only team that could do this and be completely fine. Maybe the Dodgers, but
the Yankees could if they want to. They don't want to, but they could.
Probably.
I mean, they make more money than every other team in baseball by a significant amount.
I know. But Steve Cohen's not going based off the Mets revenue. We know that.
No, I know. No, of course not.
That's what I'm saying.
My point is they have a big
most
buffer
companies run in
with.
any. You know this, right? Every facet, most companies run. They spend based on their revenue and their they're not going to spend. The idea is not to spend more, at least not, maybe for a startup it is, especially like a tech startup, but like the idea for an established company is to not spend more than you're bringing in, where
it's usually a pretty good rule of thumb.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So Greg, I know Suzanne and I were talking about this earlier before we started recording, that we've seen out there a lot of Yankee fans are upset about the losing Soto, and they're saying, you don't make that trade for the player and then not keep him. You don't really look at it that way. They're two separate things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I will say, to that point, yeah, I think they're two separate things. However, I also think that the Yankees could have, maybe not, I think they could have been proactive and gotten a deal done before the year.
It would have been a bad idea by Soto.
Yes and no. Because if you know, okay, he wants to set the record for money, he wants to set the record for AAV. If you did a 15-year deal at $705 million before the season, he probably signs it. Now, again, you could argue whether that'd be a good idea or not, right? Of course.
I think the Yankees are
so it's like there could have been things done when the trade was made to potentially lessen the risk, or more of an effort made, I should say. But you don't know if he 100% would have signed it or not, obviously. But I think we don't know if you put that contract on the table, like
that contract. But we would have probably been like, "Are you serious? Why are you giving him that?" By the way, I do want to tell you something, Greg. I forgot when this happened. I think it was around the time they traded for him last year. Maybe it was later in season. We talked about what he's going to get, and I think I was like predicting like in the 500s. You were like over 600. I'm like, no. Okay, you're right.
Thanks.
You actually undervalued it. It was
not
even close.
I think everybody did. That's the thing.
Because I looked at it, and I think I think part of the reason why Cashman's probably secretly very happy that they lost him.
He's thrilled.
Because if you look at the player, if you look at his flaws, he's not a perfect player. He's not worth more than, if you just in the context of what everyone else is making, he's not worth more than Judge Ohtani. He's not
worth 25% more than Aaron Judge per year.
No, of course not. Judge is a better player.
Yeah. So I absolutely get that. That's why it sucks, and in the short term it sucks. But is it the smartest thing? And like you said, it makes the Mets probably make the most sense to hand out that type of contract at this point, because it doesn't impact. We don't expect it to significantly impact anything else.
Impact the rest, their ability to. It's not going to hamstring them.
Yeah, and again, they don't have a bunch of other contracts already locked into where you sign that deal and you got your top 5 paid guys making like $180 million or something, whatever the hell it would be.
So I wanted to talk about the Mets' perspective. We kind of touched on everything, though. They still need a starter, because right now their starting pitcher Senga, who's I think very underrated, is really good, but ideally he's a guy that would have an extra day around, like an extra day of rest every time around.
If you're a team going into the year expecting to compete for a World Series, I don't think you can go in with Kodai Senga as your clear-cut ace.
I don't even think that's the issue. I think if you had a bunch of high end like number 2, 3 types, you'd maybe. But they have David Peterson, Montas,
Clay Holmes now as a starter.
There's a lot of question marks there. So and Quintana. So they definitely need a legit, reliable number 1.
I would expect that they bring back Minaya.
You think that's the starting pitcher move, or you think
I think that is a move. I don't know if that's the only move.
I don't think they get Burns or Fried. If they do, oh my god.
The Burns one is interesting because on one hand, I haven't heard them connected to him at all. but also he was with Stearns in Milwaukee. So like you would think it'd be like unless Stearns doesn't value him like most other teams in baseball do because he has more intimate knowledge.
He's very familiar with him.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
but I mean that's the one that on the surface makes the most sense for them. Go get Burns, bona fide ace, and off to the races.
I agree with that. Yanks plan B. We talked about this, Greg, on the Yanks off-season episode.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really get too much into it. I don't really want to get into it now because the thing is, there's so many ways the Yankees can go. Did you see Cashman's comment? Did you either of you see Cashman's comment?
No.
Yeah, I did.
So Cashman basically said there's a lot of different ways we can build this or something like that. We'll figure it out.
We'll be aggressive, but we're not going to be drunken sailors.
Use the drunken sailors thing.
Bites. So go ahead.
A lot of that is trying to downplay this idea that the Yankees are going to panic and just go out and spend,
and also
go
downplay
crazy.
The idea that they're like super desperate now. To
the remaining
for the market.
For negotiation tactics.
The biggest thing for me is I just don't want another Jacoby Ellsbury to show up again after they lost Robinson Cano.
McCann, Ellsbury.
Don't go hand out some crazy contract to somebody. It's just that's what I don't want to go sign Anthony Santander to a 7-year deal at 30.
There's no way.
Yeah,
there's no way there's no way you can't do that. He doesn't even no. What about the only free agent signing that I feel really comfortable with would be Christian Walker.
I want him bad now because I think he makes a lot of sense. He helps obviously a need position. You replace some of the offensive production. Obviously, it's theoretically going to be a shorter term deal because he's like 33, I think. So he'll probably get like a 3-year deal. First basemen don't really make a ton of money to begin with, so I think he's going to get. I think he'll get like
3 years,
3
70?
for 70, something like that, like in the low 20s, which isn't crazy. And then, you have Aaron Judge move back to right field, obviously, and then 3 years from now, he's your first baseman. So
then you get a center fielder somehow whatever.
Walker makes a ton of sense as a free agent signing. We don't need to dive super deep into it, but I think Bellinger makes a ton of sense. I'd like to see that deal potentially.
I was thinking, I don't know, it's not going to take much to get Belly. You just have
to. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Just like maybe Nestor, and the Cubs eat a little bit of the contract.
Stroman, but he was with the Cubs already.
Oh, I would love that. There's no way the Cubs that defeats the purpose for them.
No, they save $9 million or whatever it is, and they get a starter, which they probably need more of. But yeah, so like he's one who would be interesting. There's a bunch of options, like you said, but I don't want to hand out a crazy contract trying to replace.
I'm with you.
Like for like player, 60% of Soto. Like I don't remember if we specifically talked about this in the offseason episode or not, but I kind of think you have to like pivot your strategy of like what
we talked about this.
Yeah, like what you're trying to do.
Base running, defense.
Lean more into defense
pitching.
And base running than trying to now get,
we talked about
piece together 45 home runs and a 900 OPS.
It's going to be a bad idea. No Pete Alonso. You do not want that, or most Yankee fans don't want that.
No. I think Christian Walker makes a lot of sense.
That would make Yankee fans feel terrible, dude.
I don't think they do. I don't think they do it.
It'd be hilarious. I don't think it's going to happen. But
just for the optics,
fantastic.
I don't think the Yankees do it.
I don't think he's the type of player the Yankees would be interested in also. But, okay, let's talk Phillies. So the Mets get Juan Soto.
I want to put one final thought on the Yankees.
Yeah.
Mets thing. I want to spin it in a positive way for you guys. Let's just say, worst case scenario. Obviously, this would never happen in a million years. Worst case, he signed a 15-year contract, 15 years. If somehow, some way, the Mets win 15 straight World Series with Juan Soto under contract,
okay,
the Yankees will still have 27. To the Mets would then be 17 World Series titles. So 27 is 10 greater than 17, so don't feel bad. Everything will be okay.
Greg, what do you think about that? You feel good about that?
No, I don't.
Very good perspective. Very good perspective.
Thank you. I try to,
Well,
you could
you know
still-
me. I'm an eternal optimist over here.
Love
so
that.
just trying
Love
to
that.
shine some light on you guys.
Before we totally pivot to the Phillies, and maybe this is the direction you're going, but I'm curious, Sistad, your reaction to it as a Philly fan who now is going to be competing with the Mets and Juan Soto, and what you're seeing Steve Cohen doing in your own division. Obviously, it's a little
He
bit
hates
more
Soto.
direct impact.
I hate it. I think it sucks. I mean, I think I'm getting a lot of joy out of just seeing the anger from Yankees fans right now, but like it's totally going to come. Like I'm sure on April 9th, like Soto's going to be 3 for 5 with 2
He's going to
home
be
runs and a
shuffling
double
all
against
over
the
that
Phillies.
fucking stadium
Right.
over there.
Yes, and it's going to really suck. But yeah, I can't stand Juan Soto. I mean, I think he's amazing, obviously. I hated when he was on the Nationals and I had to friggin' face him 19 times a year, however many times a year it was, 18 times a year back then. He's horrifying. He's terrifying. So it really sucks. It almost feels a little bit, not quite to the same degree, but it feels kind of like the Towns trade in a sense from a Philadelphia perspective, because here we are, we have a team that we thought that we were better than, who eliminated us from the playoffs and just added a really good player to the mix.
Interesting.
To kind
that
of
connection.
separate the gap, separate themselves a little bit further. So yeah, I think it sucks. I don't really have too much optimism for the Phillies offseason. I don't really know exactly what they're going to do. Some reports say that there's going to be a lot of just total overhaul. Some say they're just going to tinker with the roster a little bit, kind of try and run it back with most of the same pieces. But I don't think, I don't think that they're going to be anywhere in the class of what the Mets will end up doing when the offseason's all said and done. And like, let's not forget the fucking Braves, man. Like they were the most injured team of the year this league, and they still almost made the playoffs. So they're going to get all their guys back. They're going to be really good.
The Braves are the best team in the division.
Of course.
The Mets didn't leap over the Braves just by getting one player.
Not yet.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah,
I think the Phillies are better than the Mets too, by the way.
Well, okay.
Like
the Phillies are good.
The Phillies are a good team, and I don't think they need a ton. They, just outside of tinkering. They signed Jordan Romano, so maybe he can find his form from a couple of years ago. But it'll be interesting to see if they bring back Hoffman. He's somebody I'd love the Yankees to sign. High strikeout guy, super valuable.
If they don't bring back Hoffman, they'll be in on Tanner Scott, or maybe they'll trade for Presley. They'll be in on a reliever.
Yeah. So I don't. It's like I don't look at the Phillies and say that they are far off of being.
But
like
their
a top
core
three
does
team in baseball.
seem like they're running out of time with that core.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I could see why
Yankees
there'd
are the
be
same
a.
way.
Yeah. Does Dombrowski's a really aggressive GM? How does he react? Does he stay calm? Does he tell people that they're not going to spend like drunken sailors? Or does he go out and sign Bregman and then trade Alec Boehm?
Oh, I definitely think they're getting rid of Alec Boehm if I were to. Well, not definitely, but yeah, I mean, that I think is a spot that's going to be opening up. Yeah, you hear Bregman's name on the tea leaves being whispered. I don't know. I tend to think that he's going to be aggressive just because the core is getting a little bit older. They've obviously fallen short over the past few years. So, and that's just kind of his MO. He comes in, he makes a ton of moves. He hopefully wins a World Series or two, and then he leaves. So that's kind of that's the one missing piece of his resume. During his tenure with the Phillies is that World Series title. But I expect that they're going to do some big things. I guess we'll wait and see.
Greg, any interest in Boehm for the Yankees?
Yes. Doesn't help the defense side of things, but yes.
I'm interested on some level. I just don't know what the match.
I don't know
would be.
what. I don't know exactly how interested, but I'd be more interested in him than. I'd be more interested in him than Arenado. I want nothing to do with Arenado. The more I've looked at it and thought about it, yeah, Correa is an interesting one. I kind of like the idea of Correa potentially. The contract isn't horrific because it's really a 4-year deal that then vests as long as he's healthy. and I don't know what chance he has of having 575 plate appearances.
It's almost impossible.
36. So like you really are getting him for like a 4-year deal.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interesting trade options out there, and I'm curious to see where it goes. But I'm the Yankees and the Phillies have a lot of similar needs there. So not with Correa specifically, but just in general. So I have a feeling that they'll be battling it out.
I think the Phillies are the Phillies are pretty set. It's just a matter of wanting to mix things up, where the Yankees have these clear holes. All right, let's move on from Soto. We spent 50 minutes on him, which not surprising. Our football watching experiences. So, Sistad, you have a funny story you said about the Eagles, about watching the Eagles game. You want to share?
Sure. This is really embarrassing. I'm trying to figure out where to start. Okay, so as you know, I have to DVR a lot of the games just because Sunday afternoons not an easy time with the two children. The 4:00 game is definitely harder, but yesterday we were kind of at a point where it was like, maybe I could watch the first half and record the second half of it, whatever. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to DVR the entire thing. I'm going to turn my phone off. I'm going to come back when the kids go to bed, which is 7:00, and it'll be fine. Whatever. Same experience as normal. And what I realized is that DVRing a 1:00 game is a lot harder because there's 6 hours. Right. So now there's 6 hours between the time the game starts and the time I actually get to watch it. So if it's a 4:00 game, basically the second it ends, I start to watch it. So now there's 6 hours in between. So this is the embarrassing part. So
Wait, can I stop you 1 second?
Sure.
So you're recording from 1:00 till 7:00? You don't
No. I record just the game.
And how do you know when the game ends? Is that what you're saying?
No, well, you can DVR just the game itself. Like you can say, I wanted to record from 1:00 to 4:30.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So
you had to choose a time though. It doesn't know. Like I think we should have a system out like an AI that knows.
Your local channel is not going to switch off the
no,
local
but if
game
you
when it
record
goes
from
to
1 to
4:30
and it goes to overtime and ends at 4:40, that's what I'm saying.
So there's an option where you can choose to stop it 30 minutes late or an hour late.
Okay.
So,
anyway, sorry. Keep going.
Yeah, all good. Got that all covered. That's nothing. So it just sucks because now I had to have my phone off for 6 hours instead of 3 hours. So a little weird, but anyway. Yeah. So here's the embarrassing part.
It's a long time without a phone.
You know I'm very superstitious. One of my biggest superstitions with the Eagles is that I have to dress how the Eagles are dressing that day. So if the Eagles are wearing their green uniforms,
full pads and everything.
No, not that. Just the color of the jersey. Sometimes I'll try to synchronize like the pants too. Like if they're wearing like white jersey, black pants, I'll wear white jersey, black pants that day. So I know.
Wait, I didn't know this.
I've never told a soul this, but
it's on the internet now. This is absurd, dude.
I know. So yeah, I have the throwback. I have the Kelly Green for Kelly Green Day, and what I do is I wear it like while the game is on. Even if I'm not watching it, I wear it while the game is on. So yesterday, I'm kind of nervous because again, there's so much time between 1:00 and 7:00, and we just kind of had a normal afternoon. We took the kids to the park, and then we had to go to Target to get some stuff after. And at this point, it's like 3:45. It's like the game is probably going to be ending soon. I'm like, I don't know. So I'm walking in. I'm wearing my green Eagles jersey. And I said to Jenna as we're walking in, I was like, I should probably take this jersey off because, like, I know someone's going to
say something
and be like, hey, man, how about those Eagles? So like, whatever. So I just ignore it. And we're in Target for a while. Like, we had to get a lot more stuff than I realized. So at this point, it's like now 4:30, 4:45 rolls around, and I'm like kind of ducking people. I don't want people to see me because I'm wearing this jersey, and I don't want anyone coming up and saying anything to me about the game. So we get there, we do all our shopping. We got a gigantic fucking shopping cart full, and there's a really, really long line at Target. So we're in line for a while. We get all the way to the register, and as we're at the register handing them stuff, this guy comes up behind me and says, "So they got their 11th win of the year today, huh?" I was like, "Oh, you mother." And even Jenna was like, "Oh man, like you shouldn't have told him." And I told him, I was like, "Hey man, like I actually DVR the games like because of these two kids. It's just hard to watch them." And we had a little bit of a laugh. And he's like, "Oh well, I won't tell you how it happened then. Like that'll be the fun part for you." So he's like, "All right, whatever." And then he even said after that, he's like, "Yeah, at one point I was thinking like, what the hell's going on here?" And I'm like, okay, so. They either struggled to get the win, or like maybe they just started bad, like first half, whatever, and like what they've been doing all year, right? A little bit of a slower start.
It ruined the game. It ruined the whole fun of watching.
So it kind of ruined the whole fun of watching. But like as I'm watching, I'm like, well, thank God I know that they won this game. Otherwise, I would be throwing things at the TV right now because holy, like
this is groundbreaking.
Yeah. It was insane. So I kind of had in the back of my mind the whole time, like, all right, it's all good. They're going to pull it out. But dude, at one point, like, I don't know if you saw, but like when I forget the guy's name because he's a Carolina Panther and they don't have anyone on their team whose names are noteworthy. Who the hell was it that dropped the touchdown pass down at the goal line? I thought he caught it. And at one point I was like,
I thought he caught it too.
Dude, I thought he caught it. And as I'm watching that, I was like, did
this guy trolling?
Guy lie to me? Like in Target? Like was he trolling me the entire time? And yeah, obviously they pull it out. But yeah, very, very strange, weird experience watching that game yesterday. Just a weird game in general.
I'm shocked that this doesn't happen to you.
I'm shocked you wore the jersey out in public.
Dude,
you're asking for it at that point.
I really was,
something.
And I'm telling you, that's why I said we were walking into Target. I was like, man, I should take this off. And I was like, I should have done it.
Gotta go with your gut. Yeah, you were asking for it. You were a target.
Lesson learned, but I can't take the jersey off while the game is still on.
Maybe if you're going out in public, maybe you just gotta get like a green shirt. That way you're still in the colors, but you're not a billboard to people to come up and talk about.
Or just be a normal person and don't feel like you have to wear the colors.
Well, that is not an option.
See, that's not. I didn't think that'd be an option. So you gotta get some plain T-shirts that are the same color. That way you can wear that out in public. And put the jersey on when you get home.
Do you make your kids wear the colors? You should start getting them going on that.
No, I don't make them. I don't make them do that. I will.
Maybe that's why they struggled yesterday.
That's right.
They need everybody to have the colors.
That's right. They need everyone pushing in the same direction.
You're right. This is a funny story. I have one question for you about this.
Sure.
If that person behind you in line told you, "Man, tough loss today," would you have still watched it?
Yes, I probably would have.
Wow.
I probably would have fast forwarded a lot more. Like when I'm very mad, I'll start fast forwarding like in between plays. You know, like just because I'm like, man, I'll watch the actual play, but like, yeah, in between, I don't need to see the replay. I don't need to hear fucking Tony Romo telling me what a great job Bryce Young just did. Like, just get me to the play, get me out of here.
Oh my God,
but I probably would have watched it. But listen, I'm happy.
I respect that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm happy with the win. I think they were playing extremely well. It's okay for them to come out flat for a game. Just again, a super weird game, a lot of weird bounces, a lot of just insane plays that Bryce Young made, like pulling rabbits out of his hat. Big third down conversions, fourth down conversions. Adam Thielen's like a walking third down conversion.
Oh, look, you knew a player in Carolina. I thought they don't have any players.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Adam Thielen hasn't been good since like 2017, but apparently he's still really good. I don't know.
He's good. He's been good.
He was really good yesterday. But I think it's okay. I think they have some stuff to clean up. But
are you concerned that AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts hate each other?
A little bit.
Wait, is that really a thing?
Yes.
Yeah, they didn't have some very good
I saw AJ
comments
Brown's
after the game.
post-game comments about like how it's hard for him to be productive if he's not getting involved at all. But I didn't take that as like he's actually
Brandon Graham was talking about how they don't get along anymore.
So the only reason why I am concerned about that is just because that's kind of the temperature that it felt last year during their collapse. Like everybody seemed to hate each other. Nobody was on the same page. They were out of sync, out of whack. I don't think it's quite to that level right now, but it's something to keep an eye on. Hopefully they come out next week and they throw it to AJ Brown 16 times in a row and he has 200 yards and 2 touchdowns and it's all good. But yeah, right now I'd say I'm mildly concerned about it. But yeah, they got the win. Good. I'd rather, I would rather have them play bad and win than play bad and lose. So going into the game.
What about play well and lose?
Definitely
play well
win.
And lose, definitely win. No, I just think like I said going into that game, the Eagles were like 13-point favorites. I was like, there's no way they're gonna cover that. So I just wanted them to win. I don't really care how it looked. I wanted them to win and not have any injuries. That's what I got. So I'm gonna take it and move on to Pittsburgh next week.
My story and my situation is not nearly as entertaining as that. So I'm glad you went first. No, I'm glad you went first. So I'm a Jets fan. Everyone, if you're listening for the first time, tuning in for the first time, I'm a Jets fan. I hate this team. Other than their performance, I just hate everything about them so much. They're just so unlikable as a team. Greg's also a Jets fan. And I bet on the Dolphins yesterday. Now,
same.
Oh, nice.
Same.
Okay, so good. So, look at this. We all did. I have like multiple parlays going on. I have the Dolphins over 23.5 points, Tyreek Hill over 60 receiving yards.
I had a big fade New York football parlay yesterday. Saints Dolphins money line, baby.
That's good. Nice, easy. Saints
not
close.
Easy actually.
They were both close.
Yeah.
So as I'm rooting on this game, I have a few parlays involving Dolphins winning, Dolphins scoring certain points, Dolphins players. I'm actively rooting for the Dolphins. So it sounds like, Greg, you were too.
Yeah.
And it's so obviously by actively rooting against the Dolphins means we're actively rooting against the Jets. Now, some Jets fans might say that their excuse is, well, the season's over. We're better off losing for draft picks anyway. Who cares about the season? But I don't care about the draft pick at all. Like, I have no confidence that the Jets are going to do anything with a pick anyway. So I'm not even focused on that at all. So I'm 100% rooting for the Dolphins, rooting against the Jets. I wanted to pose the question, but Greg, it seems like, Greg, you're on board with me. Like, does a diehard fan ever really actively just root against his team? Sistad, you wouldn't bet against the Eagles and do that, would you?
I think only diehard fans are capable of rooting against their team. Now, it's a little bit different, but because
I think a casual fan is capable too.
No, see, it's not the same. But like, if you're a Giants fan right now, like, it's in the best interest of your team and your organization and your fandom to lose every single game.
No, but I'm talking about
pick, and move, so least, like you should be actively rooting against your team because long term it should help.
I would argue that's actively rooting for your team.
You're
rooting for the benefit of the organization. I wasn't doing that. I was rooting for them to lose because of my bet, and I just don't care about the team at all. I wasn't like, oh, well, they get a better pick. I don't care. I know the Jets will screw that up. No confidence in what they do with any pick.
Yeah, why would you have confidence?
Sistad, where are you on this? Would you do that?
I would do that, but more for like an emotional hedge. Like,
yeah, that's different.
My thing would be different. But I would not ever root against my team. I think like I can draft. I guess for like draft pick wise, I can.
Again, you're rooting for them, kind of.
No, but even then, I can't. Like, it sounds great in theory, and at the end of the game, when they lose, if they're in that position, I'll say, okay, well, at least our draft pick got better. But like, while I'm sitting down actually watching it, I can't bring myself to. Right, I just can't. But I understand. I understand why people do.
I shattered my remote when the Jets beat the Rams in that Week 16 game, whatever that cost them Trevor Lawrence.
Oh my God!
Was it the Rams or was that the game that they ended up losing.
Was that the Rams?
Where they had like the one game where
I remember the
defensive coordinator who ended up getting fired mid-season, like sent an all-out blitz in a Hail Mary situation, and they ended up losing
that. The
that
Rams?
Game.
I can't remember who that
there
was.
The Rams, and there was somebody else. I think the Rams was the game they actually won. But yeah, I spiked my remote to my TV and shattered it.
There was a game
and cost themselves
many years ago when the Jets had Ty Law. The Jets had Ty Law many years. I have no idea. I can't remember the year. And they were late in the season, and they were like, I was wanting them to tank. And I remember Ty Law had like a 2-interception game, like week 16 or whatever it was, and they like ruined they lost like 2 or 3 spots in the draft.
See, what I will say about rooting against.
Does that make you angry when your team doesn't get the draft pick, the better draft pick that you want?
Does it make me angry?
Does it make you angry? Yes.
Doesn't make me angry.
Does it make a fan angry? Okay.
Yeah, I think. I was disappointed. I think it makes fans upset. Yeah, angry. Yeah.
What if your team?
Oh, I know what you're getting at. I know what you're getting at.
Had the chance to draft the greatest running back of all time.
I know. You know what he's getting at right now, Greg. You know what he's getting at right now.
No, I don't.
So
Perfect. That's good.
We haven't. Sister, do you want to explain?
Oh, you go ahead.
We recorded an episode we're gonna post around Christmas time about the Eagles fans booing Santa Claus and throwing snowballs at Santa Claus. That story that we all know, kind of know of. And the backstory is that the Eagles were trying to tank for O.J. Simpson, and they were winning at halftime and going into that where they threw snowballs at Santa Claus. And they were really miserable at 2-11 that they were losing the number 1 pick. So they were very angry.
Okay.
And he's saying...
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Maybe not taking it out on Santa, but the rest of that makes perfect sense.
Hey, maybe don't take it out on your TV, man. Come on.
Just the remote. I wouldn't actually shatter a TV. Yeah, they're cheap to replace. But to something Andrew said earlier, even when I had a bet on the Dolphins, I still don't watch that game actively rooting against the Jets
until the end.
No, not even. It's really just
I was rooting against them.
at the end, yeah. But like it's more just indifferent. I
was celebrating the game time field goal.
Okay, yeah. So, but like it's kind of So like it still takes a lot for me to actively, outwardly root against one of my teams. It's more of just, like I was saying with Soto, letting the inevitable happen if Soto was on my fantasy team. Okay. And the Jets are inevitably going to throw up all over themselves and be a dysfunctional.
Yeah, you knew they were going to find a way to lose that game. That was what's great about betting against them is finally when you know they're going to lose, it works.
They New York football parlay from here on out every week.
I was a little worried at one point. I was like, are they actually, is this the game that they're going to actually not find a way to lose?
Yeah. Crazy.
All right, so let's mock New York fans on Twitter. Sister, what do you have for us?
Let's do it. All right. So the big story of the day, we've talked about it quite a bit. Juan Soto abandons the Yankees and goes to the Mets. I don't really understand why. I mean, I guess I do, but I think if I was a Yankees fan, I'd be like, hey, that was fun. This guy was really cool. It was a fun year. We went to the World Series for the first time. Of course I would. What if this is the equivalent to the Kawhi Leonard Toronto Raptors trade? The only difference is that the Raptors won the NBA championship and the Yankees didn't.
It's a pretty big difference, though, right?
Yeah. What are you even saying?
I just think that the difference is like you don't have to
let's
spew venom and hate the guy for.
Oh, I mean, obviously, I agree with that.
Right? Yeah, that's all I'm saying. It's okay to be disappointed, but
all right. So let's get to the tweet. Let's hear this build up. We can't even get to it. You're building it up, and look how upset Greg is right now.
Well, the first
break his remote.
The first one is First one is from Anthony. I always love these when I see him because I just think it's so crazy. First one's from Anthony. His handle is at Amper0627, all capital letters, sellout, period, at Juan Soto 25, and there is a video of the jersey on
the
fire
Jersey burn.
in his driveway. Dude, that I have never understood jersey burning. I own a lot of jerseys. I would never fucking burn them. Like, put it in the garbage. You don't have to take a match, douse it in lighter fluid, and light it on fire, dude.
It's
so
a special
crazy.
It's a special
It's so
kind of crazy.
crazy.
It's almost as
Yeah.
crazy as someone who has to dress in a certain color for the game.
Almost.
But it's absurd.
Oh,
All right,
man.
that's good. All right, what else we have?
All right, Sean Morash, our old friend at WFAN. The Yankees fans spinning this as a positive right now need to take a lap. Get out of my timeline. Get out of our faces. You are why the Yankees operate the way they do now. 90-win seasons with no playoff juice. You're happy with superstars striking out 49 times in a series. Get lost.
Love it.
Greg tweeted that.
That's my burner.
Greg, can you defend Sean Morash here? You agree with some of that take, right?
I agree with a lot of that take.
Yeah.
All right, I have a couple more.
There's
more.
nothing that's left to be expanded on it.
Oh
My
yeah, no,
thoughts
it's
my
all
thoughts
sound.
have been shared on the issue.
It's Greg's burner. That is great. All right. So this next one comes from his tag is at Coors God. Don't know what that means. He says three of our favorites on the show here. Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone can go f- themselves and each other. George Steinbrenner would never let this happen.
All right. That's the winner. I mean, are we serious? I mean, dude, even Greg thinks that one is overkill.
The George
He hates the
Steinbrenner stuff, we got to stop.
Even tweeting that you think like Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone should. I mean, come on. That is just. How could you tweet that? You're putting that on social media.
Hold
How
on.
could you?
I have two more that I think are better.
God.
Yeah.
How could you be
All
that
right.
angry?
Next one.
You're the problem, Andrew. You're the problem.
Apparently,
yeah.
I am. If I was more angry, they would have gotten him. God.
All right, next one comes from at nerdyboy23. I just don't know why Aaron Boone of all people is getting sideswiped on Twitter here, but he goes, if my manager was Aaron Boone, I would leave too.
Oh God, it's so.
All right,
I like that one.
Here's my favorite one though. So before, I think what did they announce? They announced the Soto signing late last night, right? 10 o'clock.
Not
Eastern
that
time?
late. You were just fast asleep. It was like 10 o'clock.
Okay. Yes, I was on my third dream by then. This one comes to us from Lotus. So earlier that day, Aaron Boone happens to be a Philadelphia Eagles fan. So he was at the game.
Yeah.
So
priorities are all out of whack.
So after this guy finds out that Soto signs with the Mets, he tweets the following. This one takes the cake. All right. Explains what that little in capital letters Aaron Boone was doing at the Eagles game, comma. He gave up. Fire him. We don't need quitters.
Oh my God.
So that explains it. So he knew Soto was going to the Mets, so he said, I have to go to the Eagles game. I quit. And we just don't need that. In New York, baby, you know, if you're going to wear the pinstripes, you can't go to an Eagles game. All right, I don't care that your dad played for the Phillies and you grew up in Philadelphia. It doesn't matter. You need to prioritize signing Juan Soto, and you need to be fired right now.
For sure. I mean, everyone should be fired.
One person should be fired.
Oh God, Greg, come on.
It's not because of this specifically. It's because of everything else. But
real quickly, are we done? You have any more tweets?
That's it.
Before we get into subscriber questions, I don't want to get too into the weeds on this, but if they fired Cashman right now, That'd be such a horrible move, right? You agree with that?
Not right now. Yeah.
Okay,
no, it would
good.
be
At
ridiculous
least. All right.
at this point. Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
wait till February.
Thank you.
Yeah, what? That'd be like letting your GM go through the entire offseason and then
There
firing
we
him
go.
right before the season starts.
Only
what kind
Woody
of
Johnson.
organization would do that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
only Woody.
Only one kind of organization would do that.
All right. So subscriber questions. It's actually subscriber question today. Greg, you get a chance to answer these.
All right.
I think you've asked one of them actually.
I have asked
Way back
one.
when.
Maybe two.
So-
but yeah.
At CGPTR24.
Not my burner. This is not me.
This is definitely not your burner. Both New York and Philly are known for their passionate fans. But if you had to pick one iconic moment from each city's sports history that best represents their fan base, what would they be and why? So,
Wow.
pick one iconic moment from each city, Philadelphia, New York, sports history that best represents their fan base. And then why? So, obviously, for Philadelphia, we already know it's the snowball
throwing
booing
snowballs at
Santa. It's over.
Well,
Okay.
I have a different entry that I would like to say, but if you guys want to use that one, that's fine.
No, we're joking. Go.
So my favorite one, this is maybe it might be recency bias, but
Oh,
there's
I know what it
many
is.
examples. What is it?
I know what it is. It's Jason Kelsey punching that person a couple weeks ago.
That's right.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, okay. You know that's not what happened at all. I just fabricated that.
Yes.
But
that's right. No,
All right, what do you
my
have?
favorite thing, there's so many of these like clips that go on around line. But my favorite one is a couple of years ago. So Super Bowl champion Nelson Aguilar, pretty decent receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. Up and down career, started off really poorly. Had a very, very bad problem with drops early in his career.
I know
Probably
exactly
still
where
does.
you're going with this. This is
And
such a good
this, I just think, sums up the fan base of Philadelphia perfectly. So there was a man. There was a fire in an apartment building in Philadelphia one night during football season. Right when the season I think it was probably September, October. So early on in the football season, I want to say maybe 2018. Actually, I think this was the year after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a clip, giant building on fire. There's people inside the building. They need to evacuate. Apparently, like 2 floors up, there were people that had babies, like really young kids that they were throwing out the window to this man. Right, and they were catching the babies out of the window and getting them to safety. And this man gets interviewed by like a news crew. Comes over and they say, "Hey, man, so like what was going on?" And he was explaining the situation. He was like, "Hey, the flames got really high. These people didn't have a way out. They were tossing the babies down, and we were catching them. Unlike Aguilar," he says.
It's a great
He
clip.
says, unlike Aguilar, and he gives this camera like a look, like, yeah, like I just want to get that off my chest. Like this guy what kind of sicko do you have to be? You have a burning building behind you, and you're catching babies getting thrown out of a window, and your first instinct is to trash the Super Bowl champion wide receiver for the Eagles because he dropped the ball the day before. So I just think that is an all-timer. I think it's great. I think it just kind of shows that the Eagles are always on the forefront of Philadelphians' minds. Again,
number one by
there's
far in
a
Philly.
burning building. Well, just it's just ingrained in their brains. Like again, why? Like you are literally handling babies' lives in your hands out of a burning building, and the first thing that comes to your mind is, I gotta get this Aguilar thing off my chest, man, and I'm just gonna smoke him. And actually, Aguilar handled it very well for what it's worth. He found the guy. He tweeted at him like, "Thank you for being a hero in our community. Like, send me your address. I got you. I got you tickets to the next game, and Sent him tickets, gave him some gear,
That's good.
and then it ended up being a good thing.
It is a great clip.
Do you
I
know what I'm
some-
talking about, Andrew? I know you don't
Yeah.
know what
No,
Jeopardy
I know.
is, but do you know?
I do recall the story. I wouldn't have thought of it if you didn't bring it up, though.
Okay, good.
I had a hard time with this question because, and Greg, you're kind of on the spot. You didn't know about the question. I'll give you. Do you have one in mind?
No, I'm curious to hear what yours is.
All right. So if you don't have one, it's okay. It's on the spot. So I had a hard time because most New York fans, most sports fans in general, I disagree with. So when I think of like New York sports fans, I kind of think like irrational, just overly emotional, don't understand what's really happening, don't really understand analytics, don't really understand stats, don't understand that there's different perspectives and a lot of context that they're missing. They want what they want, just like people do in life. They want what they want and they want it now. So there's a lot of that. So I'll give two. One, this is not iconic, so I'm just gonna throw it out there, but because I thought about it during the Yankees season this year, they were playing a game to bring up Soto again. Soto was on the bench. He sat out a couple games. And Trent Grisham is playing, and the fans are chanting, "We want Soto." Then Grisham hits a walk-off home run or whatever, a go-ahead home run. So I think of that. That's not an iconic moment, so I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use a positive one. After 9/11, the Mets played their first home game. That was Shea Stadium at the time. And Mike Piazza hit a home run. I believe this was September 21st, 2001. So like 10 days after the 9/11 attacks. And it was in the eighth inning. It was against the Braves. They took a 3-2 lead on the home run. And the way the crowd erupted, it was not just like a regular season home run that gave you a lead against a rival. It was a very emotional moment. And I think that kind of showcases the connection that people in New York have with happiness, their overall happiness with the teams. I think it's way over the top where they connect like their happiness and their overall behavior to what the teams are doing. But I think that indicates how connected people are to their teams.
I think that's a good one. It's not something that would have come to mind, and obviously on a much lesser scale, but whenever it was 2021, so the 20-year anniversary, Yankees and the Mets played at Citi Field. And I was at that game, and it was a very unique atmosphere in that stadium. They brought out, like, Bobby Valentine came back, and yeah, it was like a very interesting. So even 20 years later, like, you could still kind of feel that like weirdness, and it was just like a very interesting game to be at. So back, 10 days after 9/11 happened, like, I'm sure that stadium was eerie in a weird way, but then, like you said, hitting that home run and kind of signifying that, like you said, the connection between the city and their teams and happiness, like that is probably a very landmark moment in New York sports. So it's a good one.
The Grisham one was better. The Grisham one was better. So said, well, I can't. Do you have one for New York? Just, you hate New York fans. I have one that happened in the World Series that you might think that might come to mind. Greg, you know what I'm referring to?
This year?
Yeah.
No.
Think Mookie Betts.
With a fan? Oh, duh. Yeah. Okay. Everyone knows that's his wall. You come near his wall.
That represents how New York fans care more about their team than they care about people.
Yeah, I have the things that stick out in my head are like, all of the Neanderthals outside Madison Square Garden chanting Trae Young after winning Game 1 of Round 1 in 2020, and
I think it was Game 2, by the way.
And then they were chanting Embiid like at a Yankees playoff game this year. It's like, well, what are you guys doing? You guys kicked Embiid's ass like earlier, 2 months ago. Leave us alone. All right, we don't need any more negativity over here. But I don't know. I'd have to think of one. Maybe we could circle back for
My
next
mind,
episode.
my
I'm
mind
sure I
went
could think
to
of
the
a good one.
Knicks immediately because I feel like the Knicks fan base is.
I have a Rangers one though.
Oh, okay. A lot of the same fans. So
The Rangers one,
Big four. Yep.
it's not an iconic moment, but it's something they just do, which is as a diehard fan, as someone who's like many seasons had 10-game packages. This really bothered me. I would never chime in on.
Hey.
No,
Hey.
the goal song's great. The goal song's
okay.
great. It's Dennis Potvin, who played for the Islanders in 1940 or whatever. I don't know what year.
This guy I work with is a huge Ranger fan. He was just telling me about this last week.
Really? So they chant Potvin sucks. It's 50 years after he played. Everyone that's chanting it never watched this guy play. What are we? So ridiculous.
He's an Islander, man. He's an Islander.
Yeah.
I get it. I get that one.
I don't. But that's funny though. That's someone told you about this recently.
What'd you say?
I said it's funny that someone told you about that recently.
Yeah. I don't know how we got on the topic, but just told me about it last week.
Rangers Islanders is the fiercest intra-city rivalry out of any of the teams because the Mets and Yankees, different leagues. Same with Jets and Giants. There's not really
Nets never been good at the same time.
Yeah, no one really cares about the Nets either. So Rangers Islanders is the one where that's the biggest actual rivalry between
Growing up
specifically
in Jersey,
New York
though,
teams.
and at the time when the Devils were really good, for me, it was always Rangers Devils more than. I mean, it's not intra-city, but it's
historically,
same
it doesn't have.
Historically, yes.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. When both are,
but you're
good,
right.
obviously it's
Historically,
going to get ramped up. But yeah.
All right, that's it. Greg, thanks for joining.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
We're gonna get you.
I'm gonna
mug.
get him his mug, man.
All right. Love it.
We're gonna get you the mug. Everyone, thanks for listening.
I'll tweet out a picture of me drinking from it on my burner too, so you know it's me.
Love it. Yeah.
So Sean Marash will tweet it out.
Yeah.
Along with Fire, Brian Cashman, and Aaron Boone. That'll be in the caption.
They're a tag team. You got to fire both of them, not just one. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Philly pride insists that's all. Andrew rapping and wild balls. Together they talk sports and dreams. Right behind the scenes, it seems. Philly versus NY, hear the call. Who's the greatest? Who will fall with this rivalry? Loud and clear, join the chat. It's time to cheer. Sports and culture all in one. Catch the fire, feel the fun. Andrew says that glad you